The music was loud enough to shake the crystal chandeliers, the laughter of wealthy guests echoing against marble walls. But in the farthest corner of the grand ballroom, two little girls sat in perfect silence. They wore matching pale blue dresses, their dark curls pinned back with glittering clips. Their small hands rested on their laps as children ran past them, chasing balloons and cotton candy clouds. No one noticed that the twins hadn't touched their cake. No one noticed they hadn't spoken a word. And no one noticed that the party, thrown in their honor, felt like a prison made of noise they could not hear. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of understanding, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder of compassion, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories. The party was hosted by billionaire tech CEO Alexander Reed, a man who built an empire from nothing and wore success like armor. His mansion overlooked the city skyline, glowing under strings of golden lights. Every elite family had come to celebrate his twin daughter's 8th birthday. There were magicians, face painters, a chocolate fountain taller than most children, and a custom-made ice sculpture shaped like a castle. From a distance, it looked like perfection. But perfection can be painfully lonely. Lily and Lila Reed had been born profoundly deaf. Doctors had told Alexander and his late wife, Margaret, that their daughters would never experience the world the way others did. Margaret had learned sign language immediately, devoting herself to becoming the girl's bridge to the world. But when cancer took her 2 years ago, that bridge collapsed. Alexander loved his daughters fiercely, but he did not know how to reach them. His grief buried him in meetings, mergers, and endless business trips. He hired tutors and therapists, installed advanced hearing technology in the house, and filled their rooms with the most expensive toys money could buy. But he never learned sign language beyond a few awkward gestures. He told himself he was too busy, too overwhelmed. He told himself they understood he loved them. But children do not measure love in dollars. They measure it in presence. Throughout the party, guests praised Alexander's generosity. They shook his hand, congratulated him, admired the decorations. Meanwhile, Lily and Lila watched the room with wide, searching eyes. They saw laughter but could not hear it. They saw mouths moving but could not understand the words. When children approached them out of curiosity, the twins smiled politely, but confusion quickly replaced excitement. The other kids drifted away, unsure how to communicate. And so the birthday girl sat alone. Near the entrance stood a man who didn't belong in that glittering world. Daniel Carter adjusted the collar of his simple navy shirt, feeling painfully aware of the difference between his worn leather shoes and the polished designer heels surrounding him. He wasn't invited as a guest. He was there as a last-minute replacement catering assistant after another worker called in sick. Daniel was a single father to a 7-year-old son named Noah. He worked 2 jobs, construction by day, part-time catering on weekends, to keep their small apartment afloat. Since Noah's mother had left when their son was a baby, Daniel had learned how to braid hair for school plays, pack lunches shaped like stars, and read bedtime stories with dramatic voices. He was exhausted most days, but he never missed Noah's soccer practices or parent-teacher meetings. As he carried a tray of sparkling drinks across the ballroom, his eyes drifted toward the quiet corner. He noticed what no one else did. The twins weren't just quiet, they were disconnected. He paused for a moment, watching them observe the world like it was happening behind thick glass. Something tightened in his chest. Daniel's younger sister had been deaf. He remembered the isolation she felt in crowded rooms, the way people spoke about her instead of to her. He had learned sign language as a teenager, so she would never feel alone at family gatherings. Without fully thinking, Daniel placed his tray on a nearby table and walked toward the girls. From across the room, Alexander Reed noticed the catering assistant stepping toward his daughters. At first, irritation flickered in his eyes. The help should remain professional. But then he saw something unusual. Daniel didn't speak. He knelt down so he was at eye level with Lily and Lila. He gently tapped his chest and signed his name. The twins froze in disbelief. Their eyes widened. Slowly, hesitantly, Lily signed back. Then Lila. Within seconds, their faces transformed. The change was immediate and breathtaking. Their shoulders relaxed. Their smiles grew wide and genuine. They began signing rapidly, hands moving like birds taking flight. Daniel laughed silently, responding with equal enthusiasm. He asked about their dresses, their favorite subjects in school, the cake flavor they had chosen. He exaggerated his expressions to make them giggle. He even signed a silly joke about a cat who thought it was a dog. For the first time that evening, Lily and Lila looked like children at their own birthday party. Alexander stood frozen across the room. He watched his daughters come alive in a way he hadn't seen since Margaret was alive. The sight struck him harder than any boardroom betrayal ever had. He realized painfully that he had spent millions creating a spectacle but had failed to create connection. The other children began noticing the twins laughing. Curiosity pulled them closer. Daniel gently encouraged simple gestures, showing the kids how to sign hello and friend. The twins beamed as their peers attempted clumsy signs. Laughter spread, not loud and chaotic, but warm and inclusive. Alexander felt something shift inside him. For years, he had believed he could fix everything with money. But this moment, this simple act of kneeling and signing, cost nothing. After the candles were lit and blown out, guided by visual cues instead of a song the twins couldn't hear, guests began to leave. Alexander approached Daniel near the catering station. Pride and humility battled within him. He thanked Daniel stiffly at first, but the words quickly grew heavier. He admitted he had never taken the time to truly learn his daughter's language. He confessed he didn't know how to start. The vulnerability in his voice surprised even him. Daniel didn't judge. He simply shared what he knew. He spoke about his sister's loneliness and how learning to sign had brought them closer. He said that connection wasn't about perfection, it was about effort. That night, after everyone left, Alexander found Lily and Lila sitting on their bedroom floor, unwrapping gifts. Instead of retreating to his office, he sat down with them. Awkwardly, slowly, he attempted the signs Daniel had used earlier. The girls stared at him in astonishment. When he fumbled, they corrected him with gentle patience. It was clumsy, it was imperfect, but it was real. Over the following weeks, Alexander made changes no shareholder could have predicted. He rearranged his schedule, canceling unnecessary trips. He hired a professional sign language instructor, not for the girls, but for himself. He practiced late into the night, fingers aching, determined to catch up on lost time. He also made an unexpected call. He offered Daniel a position, not as a caterer, but as a communication liaison for a new foundation he wanted to establish, one dedicated to supporting deaf and hard-of-hearing children and their families. Daniel hesitated at first, unsure he belonged in such a world, but the opportunity meant stability for Noah and the chance to create meaningful change. The foundation's launch event months later looked very different from the extravagant birthday party. It was inclusive by design. Interpreters stood proudly on stage. Visual displays replaced blaring speakers. Children signed freely without fear of being misunderstood. At the center of it all stood Lily and Lila, confident and radiant. They introduced the foundation in sign language, their father standing beside them interpreting aloud with steady hands. Alexander no longer looked like a distant CEO. He looked like a father who had finally learned his daughter's language. Daniel watched from the side with Noah, who clapped enthusiastically. He felt a quiet pride, knowing that a single step toward two lonely girls had sparked something larger than himself. But the true transformation wasn't in the foundation or the headlines praising Alexander's new philanthropic vision. It was in the quiet evenings at home when the twins curled beside their father, signing about their day. It was in the way Alexander now noticed when they felt overwhelmed in crowded spaces and gently guided them outside. It was in the way he listened, not with his ears, but with his eyes and heart. Loneliness had once filled a ballroom decorated with gold. Now warmth filled a home where connection mattered more than appearances. Before this story comes to an end, if it touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe for more emotional journeys. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most. And here's a special request. Comment the word kindness below if you believe one small act can change a life. Because sometimes the most powerful changes don't begin with grand gestures. They begin with someone kneeling in a quiet corner, choosing to see the ones the world has overlooked. On that unforgettable birthday night, two deaf girls learned they were not invisible. A grieving father learned that love requires action. And a single dad learned that even in rooms where you don't belong, your compassion might be exactly what someone else is waiting for. The chandeliers still sparkle in Alexander Reed's mansion. The city skyline still glows. But what truly lights up that home now are the swift, beautiful movements of hands in conversation, and the unbreakable bond formed when someone finally decided to listen,